I'm 16 now, but everything started when I was 9. One morning before school, my mom sat me down on the couch, said she had to go sort things out for a while, and promised she'd be back soon. I remember asking if I did something wrong, and she laughed and said of course not, that she just needed some space. She gave me a long hug, kissed my forehead, and walked out the front door with a suitcase. That was the last time I saw her in person. The days after that were confusing. My dad tried to make things seem normal. Cereal in the morning, driving me to school, dinner on the table. He never badmouthed her, never explained what had happened. He just said, "Mom needs some time," and that was it. At first I believed her. I waited every day, staring out the window in case her car pulled into the driveway. Every knock on the door made my heart race. But after a few weeks, the waiting turned to wondering, then to anger, and finally, silence. It wasn't until I turned 13 that I finally asked my dad where she'd gone. He just shook his head and said, "She left. I don't know where. She cut off contact." I couldn't wrap my head around it. A mother doesn't just vanish, right? Especially not with a kid left behind, except mine did. The years passed. I grew up, learned how to be okay without her. I stopped expecting birthday cards, stopped looking out the window on holidays. I stopped asking questions. It was easier that way, until last month. I came home from school and found my dad sitting at the kitchen table, phone in hand, looking like he'd seen a ghost. She'd texted him. After 7 years of radio silence, my mom sent him a message. All it said was, "I'd like to talk to our daughter." He didn't reply. Instead, he showed me the message and told me it was my call. He wouldn't stop me from responding, but he wasn't going to encourage it either. I could tell from the look on his face that something was wrong. He wouldn't say more, though. That night, I stared at that text for hours. I typed out a dozen different replies and deleted them all. What was I supposed to say? Why now? What do you want? Where have you been? And just as I was about to shut my phone off and walk away, a new message came through. From her. This time, it was longer, and it changed everything. The second message said she was sorry, that she missed me every day, that she thought about me all the time. She said she wanted to explain everything in person and hoped I'd give her a chance. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me was angry, furious actually. I wanted to scream through the phone. "You thought about me? While I spent birthdays alone? While I cried myself to sleep wondering what I did wrong?" But then, there was a part of me that wanted to believe her. The little girl in me, the one who still remembered the smell of her shampoo and how she used to hum while cooking, wanted to believe she had a reason. So I messaged her back. I said, "I want answers. That's it." She replied immediately. She asked if we could meet at a local diner that Saturday. Said she'd be sitting at the booth by the window. I could come in or not. She'd be there either way. I didn't tell my dad. I just said I was going to the library to study. He didn't ask questions. I think he knew exactly where I was going. Saturday came. I walked into the diner and spotted her instantly. She looked the same, but smaller somehow. Like the years had taken more from her than time should have. She stood up when she saw me, but I didn't go in for a hug. I just sat down across from her. She didn't touch her coffee, just stared at me with watery eyes. And then she started talking. She told me she had left because she wasn't well, that her mental health was bad, that she'd felt trapped in the life she had, that she thought I'd be better off with my dad, that she didn't want me to grow up around someone broken. I didn't say a word. I just let her talk. And the longer she talked, the more something felt off. She kept saying things like, "I did it for you, and I was protecting you from who I was becoming." But it didn't sound like the full truth. It felt like a script, like something she'd rehearsed. Then, out of nowhere, she asked if I still lived in the same house, if my dad had ever changed the locks. That's when something clicked. This wasn't about guilt. She wanted something. The second she asked about the locks, it was like a switch flipped in my brain. I stared at her, and suddenly everything she'd said before felt hollow. The "I missed yous," the "I left to protect you" nonsense. None of it felt real anymore. This wasn't a mom who regretted leaving her daughter. This was someone scouting out her next move. I didn't answer her question. I just said I had to go, grabbed my bag, and left. My hands were shaking the whole walk home. I didn't go to my room. I went straight to my dad. He was folding laundry, acting like it was any normal Saturday. But when he saw my face, he dropped the shirt he was holding. I told him I saw her, and before I could even say another word, he said, "I figured you would." I asked him the question that had been boiling in the back of my mind since the diner. Why did she really leave? He was quiet for a long time. Then he walked to the cabinet, pulled down a metal lockbox I'd never seen before, and opened it on the kitchen counter. Inside were stacks of papers. Old court documents, restraining orders, hospital bills, police reports. I couldn't make sense of it at first. Then he handed me a paper that made my stomach drop. It was a police report. dated 3 months before she left. My mom had been arrested, twice, once for driving under the influence, with me in the car, and once for something worse, neglect. Turns out she hadn't just been unwell, she'd been spiraling, drinking constantly, taking pills, vanishing for hours and leaving me home alone while my dad was at work. Neighbors had called child services twice, and I had no memory of any of it. Apparently I was so young, and she'd always been good at hiding it when I was awake, that I never noticed. But the reports were real. Pictures, too. One showed me asleep in the back seat of her car with a bottle of wine in the front cup holder. I felt sick. I couldn't believe it. The woman who used to pack my school lunches, who painted my toenails on Sundays, who kissed me goodnight and called me her little moonbeam, she hadn't left because she loved me so much. She left because the court told her she had to, or she'd lose custody in the most humiliating way possible, and she chose to run, not get help, not fight for me, just disappear. I couldn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the woman I remembered with the woman in those reports. My mind kept flipping between the two, like someone was changing channels in my head. 1 minute I saw her twirling in the kitchen, singing along to the radio. The next I saw the mugshot, her eyes red and empty. I felt like I'd been living in a lie my whole life, and somehow I still felt guilty, like maybe if I'd cried less, or been more lovable, she would have stayed. I didn't talk to her after the diner. I didn't message her. I didn't even open but she kept texting. First it was simple stuff. I hope you're okay. I'm sorry if I overwhelmed you. Then it turned into something else. Do you think I could stop by the house sometime? I just want to see how you're living now. And finally, I'm really struggling right now. I don't have anywhere to go. That was when I knew for sure. She didn't come back she came back because she needed something. Maybe she thought I was still a little girl, someone she could manipulate. Maybe she assumed I didn't remember enough to ask questions. But she underestimated, and honestly, she underestimated my dad. Because while she was disappearing and burning bridges, he was the one who stayed. The one who braided my hair before school, even though his fingers weren't great at it. The one who learned how to cook just so I'd have something warm waiting at dinner. The one who answered every single awkward puberty question with a YouTube tutorial and a determined look in his eye. He never badmouthed her. Not once. Not even when he could've. That kind of love? Quiet, steady, boring to anyone on the outside, but everything to me. It's the only reason I'm not completely wrecked by this now. Because I had someone who picked up every shattered piece she left behind. A week passed without me replying to her texts. I thought maybe she'd give up, that she'd disappear again, just like before. But instead, she got bolder. One day after school, I came home and found her sitting on our front porch. She looked different, not just older, desperate. Hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled, eyes darting around like she was expecting someone to yell. She stood up the second she saw me and tried to smile, but I didn't smile back. I didn't say anything. She said she just wanted to see me in person again, said she hadn't stopped thinking about me, said she was staying in a motel 2 towns over and didn't even have money for another week there. I asked her flat out why she came back now, and she didn't even try to deny it. She told me she thought maybe, after all these years, my dad would have moved on, or softened, that maybe I had my own money now, or friends who'd understand what she'd been through. She said she just needed a place to stay for a bit, maybe the guest room. She was talking about living in our house, like it was some random Airbnb she could crash in until life got better again. That's when my dad pulled into the driveway. He got out of the car slowly, calmly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten her. He just told her that if she didn't leave, he'd call the police. And for a second I saw a flicker of the woman I used to know, the one who could charm her way out of anything. She turned to me and said, "You'd really let him do that to me? I'm your mother." But the word didn't land the way she wanted. Mother. It felt like a costume she was trying on again, hoping it still fit. I told her no. I said, "You were my mother. Then you weren't." Her face fell. She didn't argue. She walked away, didn't look back, and just like that, she vanished again. But this time it didn't hurt. This time, I didn't feel like a little kid waiting by the window. The next few days felt like a weird kind of calm. Not happy, not sad, just clean. Like someone had finally opened a window in a room that had been shut for too long. My dad didn't bring it up again. He didn't ask what she said or how I felt about any of it. He just made pancakes that Sunday morning like usual, let me sleep in, and even let me skip helping with the laundry. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because I missed her. Those feelings were burned out long ago. But because I couldn't believe how close I came to letting her back in. One diner meeting, one soft voice, one well-timed text, and suddenly I was 9 again, thinking maybe she still loved me. That scared me more than anything. So I started digging. Not for revenge, just for clarity. I wanted to know who she'd become during those 7 years she was gone, and what I found shocked me. She'd changed her name, slightly, dropped her last name, started going by her middle name as a first. Enough to avoid basic searches, but not enough to vanish. But one thing she hadn't changed, her record. There were multiple arrests, fraud, theft. She'd been evicted from 3 different apartments. There was even a restraining order from another ex. Apparently, she'd tried something similar with him, showed up after years, said she wanted to reconnect with his kid, and when he let her in, she drained his savings and vanished again. It was like reading the plot of a cheap crime drama, except it was her, my mom, the woman who used to sing lullabies. And then I found something worse, a GoFundMe. She made one last year, claiming she was a single mother trying to reunite with her daughter after years of battling illness and abuse. She said she'd escaped a violent ex and was fighting to bring her family back together. There was a photo of me, a school photo, one of the ones my dad had framed on our hallway wall. She must have pulled it from social media, maybe even from an old friend's page. I looked so small in it, so unaware. She made money off that lie. People donated. They believed her. And all that time, I was here, being raised by the man she claimed hurt her, the man who never once said a bad word about her, the man who kept her secrets, even when she didn't deserve his silence. I showed my dad the fundraiser page. He just nodded, said, "I know." He knew. That's what broke me. He had known. The fundraiser, the arrests, all of it. And he never said a word. Not when I cried for her. Not when I asked if she'd ever come back. Not even when she started texting again. He just kept letting me believe whatever I needed to believe at the time. I asked him why. He said, "Because you deserve to remember the good parts while they were still good." And I think that's when I finally understood the kind of love my dad gave me. It wasn't loud or dramatic or built on big moments. It was in the quiet, in what he didn't say, in all the things he shielded me from, even when it meant carrying it all alone. That night, I sat at my desk and opened a new message window. I didn't say much, just enough. "I know about the GoFundMe. I know what you did. Don't contact me again." Then I blocked her. Email, phone, socials, everything. I half expected her to find a way around it, send a letter, show up again, try another angle, but she didn't. I think she knew that whatever string she'd been tugging on all these years had finally snapped, and for the first time since I was 9 years old, felt free. There's no perfect ending here, no neat bow, just a girl who finally saw things clearly, a girl who learned that sometimes people leave not because they're broken, but because they choose to be. I still think about her sometimes, not with longing, not even with anger, just curiosity, like wondering what would have happened if she'd stayed, if she'd gotten help, if she'd fought for me, but she didn't. And I did. I'm the one who stayed, I'm the one who healed, and I'm the one writing this now, so maybe another kid, somewhere, someday, won't feel so alone when the person who was supposed to love them the most walks away. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do with the truth is survive it. Update. Weeks later, the GoFundMe was reported. It got taken down. A few people messaged me after saying they felt betrayed for donating to her. I told them I understood, but I didn't owe them more than that. I'm not cleaning up after her anymore. I've been journaling a lot. Writing helps. So maybe I'll keep telling stories. Maybe I'll tell mine 100 different ways until it stops hurting. But for now, this version is enough.